When we tell the ownership story, we feel calm, optimistic, like we learned something. When we are in the helpless story, we usually feel like we failed. We feel frustrated, pressured, unhappy. Which story is true? Well, both stories are true. The facts have to be true in both the stories. And it's a choice about which story to tell, since in the last lesson, we told the story both ways. So that raises a really powerful question. Why do we choose to tell the helpless story? There must be some benefit to telling the helpless story, because if there wasn't, we would never tell it. Well, there are benefits, but most of them are subconscious benefits. We don't do it deliberately. The subconscious benefits we get from telling the helpless story are getting sympathy, avoiding responsibility, manipulating other people, having excuses, protecting my image, maintaining my beliefs, staying in my comfort zone, proving my point. Now my guess is you tell the ownership story most of the time. But under real pressure, we tell the helpless story, which is a defensive story. Now we tell a defensive story when we feel like we're under attack, when we feel like we're being judged or criticized or evaluated. But usually, the problem is not that we're being judged by others. That may or may not be the case. But the real problem is that we're judging ourselves. So if my subordinate makes a mistake, I get afraid that my results are going to look bad and that people will think I'm useless. And if my own belief is that if I fail, then I'm a failure, then I get scared and I say, I'm not a failure, it's not my fault. How can I succeed if I have such incompetent team members? And then I get angry and I blame my team members. But that helpless story is being generated by my own self-judgment that I'm a failure. If I wasn't judging myself so harshly, I'd simply say, okay, let's talk about what we need to do to fix it. Let me explain in more detail and clarity next time. It's only when we stop judging ourselves that we can take ownership. And there are prices to taking ownership. Because when I stop blaming people and look at the choices I made, I could be blamed or judged, especially if someone else is looking for a scapegoat. I could fail if I declare clear commitments. I could be unpopular if I have the difficult conversations I need to. I have to do the hard work and come out of my comfort zone. I give up my excuses and I face my fears. I'm the one taking the risks. So there are advantages and disadvantages to telling both the helpless story and the ownership story. But there is something you can get from the ownership story that you just can't get from the helpless story. And that's results. When you tell the helpless story and you say there's nothing you can do, and you believe your own helpless story, then there is nothing you can do. You lost your power. But when you tell the ownership story and you say, not everything is in my control, but I always have choices, then I'm more likely to figure out what I need to do to produce the results that I want. And when I start producing a track record of results, I get confidence, credibility, money, health, relationships, promotions, all of that. Now, anytime I'm feeling any of the negative emotions, for example, suppose I'm feeling frustrated and angry because my husband is not spending as much time with me as I would like. Once I understand the concept of ownership, I've got to acknowledge that I'm choosing to feel that way, because there are some subconscious benefits I'm getting. I get sympathy from others. I get to be the good wife and he the bad husband. I get to stay in my comfort zone and not do anything differently. I get to hide my real fears. Maybe I'm scared that if he's not spending time with me, then it means that he doesn't love me or that I'm not so interesting to hang out with. Maybe a belief I have acquired as a child. So I look sad and I manipulate him into feeling guilty and spending more time with me. Now, because he's doing it out of compulsion, he might feel bored or frustrated, and that reinforces my belief about myself. And I don't create the relationship that I want. But if I realize that the payoff I'm getting from getting angry is that I'm getting to protect my image of being an interesting person, then I can just let the payoff go. Instead, I take ownership and I tell him I want to spend more time with him. And I face the fear that he might say he doesn't want to. That's the price I need to pay, taking that risk. And we have a conversation about what we can do that both of us will find interesting and go do it and have a great time. And then I start creating the result I want, the result of a fun date, nurturing a great loving marriage, and building my own self-belief and confidence. But in order to do so, I've got to acknowledge that I'm choosing to feel angry. And that if I let go of the payoff and pay the price, then and only then will I get the things in my life that are really important to me. See, both the helpless story and the ownership story have benefits. But the benefits of the helpless story is that you get to avoid your fears. And the benefit of the ownership story is you chase your dreams. But if you keep running from your fears, then they'll always keep chasing you and you'll never get the confidence. A lot of people think that when they develop the confidence, they'll do the things that they always wanted to do. Start their own business, take on a bigger project, ask someone out that they like. But that's not how it works. It's not that you build the confidence and then you can do the things that you want. It's you do the things that you fear, and as you keep doing them, you start becoming confident. Confidence comes later. Imagine you're on one of those diving boards over a swimming pool, and you're a kid and you're feeling scared. You're scared, but you have a choice. You either jump or you don't. Now, if you feel scared and still jump, then it might sting, but once you've done it, then the second time it'll be slightly less scary, and the third time even less scary. And by the 10th time, you'll be feeling confident. But if you wait up at the diving board thinking, I'm going to wait till I feel confident, then I'm going to jump, you'll be waiting there forever. How long are you going to let your fears drive your life? Here are the reflection questions for today. Where in your life are you telling the helpless story? What are the subconscious payoffs that you're getting by telling it? What are the prices you might need to pay if you took ownership? What would be possible if you did?